seeing us off this morning, and
We're still in the aft galley heading to some more. How you doing? How's the food been since?
Welcome to the ship, to the finest warship.
Right now, somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, hundreds of naval officers are living inside what can only be described as a floating fortress. These aren't luxury cruise ships. We're talking about 45,000-ton amphibious assault ships, essentially small aircraft carriers, where officers share cramped staterooms smaller than your average bedroom, yet command operations worth billions of dollars. The captain gets a private bathroom. Everyone else? They're sharing facilities with dozens of fellow officers. But here's what most people don't know. Life aboard these massive warships has changed dramatically in just the past year, and what's happening behind those steel walls might surprise you. The United States Navy operates the largest and most capable amphibious fleet on the planet. 32 amphibious warfare ships patrol our oceans, with 9 of them being massive amphibious assault ships. These vessels are the backbone of American military power projection, carrying not just naval personnel but also entire Marine expeditionary units ready to respond anywhere, anytime. But today we're pulling back the curtain on something rarely discussed: how the officers who command these floating cities actually live day to day. We're talking about the men and women who lead over 1,000 sailors and nearly 2,000 Marines. Where do they sleep? What do they eat? How do they stay connected to families back home? And what's changed in 2024 and 2025 that's revolutionizing life at sea? If you've ever wondered what it's really like for those leading America's amphibious forces, drop a comment below and let us know.
And like you are. What do you want to take us through? What improvements?
The ships themselves. Let's start with the sheer scale we're dealing with. The 2 main classes of amphibious assault ships currently protecting American interests are the Wasp class and the newer America class vessels. These aren't your typical Navy ships. With displacements ranging from 40,000 to 45,000 tons, they rival many aircraft carriers operated by other nations. The Wasp-class ships carry a crew of 66 officers and over 1,000 enlisted sailors. Add to that nearly 1,700 Marines, with surge capacity for almost 200 more. That's close to 3,000 people living and working on a single vessel. These ships stretch over 800 feet long and feature full-length flight decks capable of launching F-35B Lightning II stealth fighters, MV-22 Osprey tiltrotor aircraft, and multiple helicopter types. The newer America class takes things even further. With a hangar deck 42% larger than previous designs and fuel capacity 4 times greater, these ships were purpose-built around the Joint Strike Fighter. One key difference? The first 2 America-class ships don't have well decks for launching landing craft. Instead, that space was converted into massive aviation maintenance areas and additional fuel storage. That tells you everything about modern naval warfare priorities. Air power reigns supreme. But all this firepower and capability means nothing without the officers who make it work. And those officers live in conditions that might shock you. Officer quarters, the stateroom reality. Here's where Hollywood gets it wrong. When most people think of naval officers, they picture spacious cabins with desks, comfortable beds, and privacy. The reality? Not even close. Junior officers, those ranked 01 through 03, which includes ensigns, lieutenants junior grade, and lieutenants, typically share staterooms with anywhere from 2 to 8 other officers. Yes, you read that right. 8 officers in one room. The most common arrangements are 2-man or 4-man staterooms, but when ships are at full capacity, those numbers increase. These staterooms serve triple duty: sleeping quarters, lounges, and offices all rolled into one cramped space. Bunks are stacked 2 or 3 high, and the only privacy comes from curtains hung around each rack. These aren't spacious bunk beds either. We're talking about racks barely wide enough for one person, with just enough overhead clearance to roll over without hitting your head. What about storage? Each officer gets 1 locker for uniforms, technical manuals, life jackets, helmets, toiletries, and whatever personal items they've brought from home. Navy regulations specify exact measurements for how much space officers need for uniforms, secure papers, and personal effects, but that doesn't mean there's much room to spare. Former sailors describe these staterooms as being packed with so much gear, there's barely room to breathe. Here's the catch that makes it somewhat manageable. At any given time, one officer is typically on watch, another is sleeping, and only then does the third have enough space to actually change clothes or do paperwork. Senior officers and department heads get slightly better arrangements, usually two-man staterooms with a bit more space. But even then, we're not talking luxury. The executive officer, second in command of the entire ship, gets a larger stateroom that doubles as a conference room. This makes sense when you consider the XO is responsible for all administrative duties and keeping a crew of thousands running smoothly. His stateroom needs to accommodate meetings, spread out paperwork, and even an extra bunk for transient personnel, maybe a downed aviator waiting to return to his carrier, or an officer transferring between assignments. But there's one person aboard who gets treatment befitting their responsibility. The commanding officer's quarters are in a completely different league. Let's talk about what the captain gets, and why he's the only one with this particular privilege. The captain's privilege. The commanding officer's stateroom is the largest cabin on the ship, and frankly, it needs to be. This isn't about luxury, it's about functionality. The CO carries ultimate responsibility for everything that happens aboard that vessel. The safety of thousands of personnel, billions of dollars in equipment, and mission success that can impact global security. On LHA-class ships, the captain's stateroom sits below the pilot house, giving him immediate access to the bridge during emergencies. The space includes a separate bedroom, an office area, and here's the kicker, a private bathroom, complete with sink, shower, and commode. He's the only person aboard with a private head. Every other officer, they're sharing bathroom facilities. The officer's head typically serves dozens of officers and is about as Spartan as it gets. One lavatory, one shower, two toilets. That's it. When you've got 66 officers aboard and only the CO has a private bathroom, you learn real quick about scheduling and courtesy. The captain also has space for a desk, file cabinet, and a proper hanging locker for uniforms. He needs multiple uniforms ready at all times because the CO represents the entire ship during official functions, ceremonies, and when meeting with foreign naval officers at ports around the world. But even with these privileges, the captain's quarters aren't what you'd call spacious by civilian standards. It's functional, professional, and appropriate for the position. Nothing more. Daily life and work schedule. Now let's talk about what daily life actually looks like for these officers. Because having a place to sleep is one thing, having time to sleep is something entirely different. Naval officers aboard amphibious assault ships work around the clock. The ship never sleeps. Someone's always on watch, monitoring systems, overseeing flight operations, managing engineering spaces, or standing ready for emergencies. Officers typically work in watch rotations, 4 to 6 hours on watch, followed by off-watch periods for sleep, meals, and administrative duties. But here's where it gets brutal. During those off-watch hours, officers aren't relaxing. They're catching up on paperwork, mountains of it, training reports, fitness reports for their subordinates, action reports, requisitions for equipment and supplies, material condition reports, quarterly evaluations. The list never ends. Former officers describe lights burning late into the night in the staterooms as they tried to stay on top of administrative requirements. During maintenance periods back at port, things get even more demanding. Most ships collapse from a 6-section duty schedule down to 3 sections. That means every third night, an officer spends an entire workday aboard ship, stands 1 or 2 watches, supports evening drills and training, oversees contractor work happening during back shifts, and then, if they manage to sleep at all, wakes up the next morning to work another full day. That's essentially a 36-hour workday every third day. The physical and mental toll is significant. Studies have shown that working a single midnight watch impacts work effectiveness equivalent to having a blood alcohol content of 0.05. Now imagine doing that regularly while being responsible for the safety of thousands of people and equipment worth billions. Before we continue, take just a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of viewers watch without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but makes a huge difference to us. The wardroom, where officers gather. Despite cramped quarters and demanding schedules, there's one space aboard ship that belongs exclusively to the officers: the wardroom. This is more than just a dining area, it's the social and professional hub of officer life. The wardroom serves commissioned officers above the rank of midshipmen, providing a place for meals, rest, relaxation, and professional discussions. Unlike enlisted sailors who receive meals as part of their pay, officers pay for their own food through the Wardroom Mess Fund. Each officer contributes, and an elected mess treasurer manages the fund and ensures food quality stays high. Meals are served in 2 shifts to accommodate watch schedules and operational requirements. On ships like the USS Wasp, the wardroom features one particularly popular breakfast item that enlisted sailors don't get: freshly cooked, customizable omelets. It's a small perk, but after weeks at sea, those little touches matter. The wardroom isn't just about food. Because officer staterooms are so cramped, many use the wardroom's larger tables to spread out paperwork and handle administrative tasks. It's also where officers decompress between watches, discuss professional matters, and maintain the camaraderie essential to effective leadership. There are unwritten rules governing wardroom behavior. 3 topics are traditionally taboo: politics, religion, and sex. In peacetime, talking about professional business is also frowned upon. The wardroom is meant to be a space where officers can step away from the constant operational demands. The ship's executive officer typically serves as mess president, maintaining standards and ensuring the space functions properly. But here's an interesting tradition. On large ships during peacetime, the commanding officer typically isn't a member of the wardroom. He's invited to join for special occasions, but maintaining some separation between the CO and other officers helps preserve command structure while still allowing the wardroom to function as an officer's space. The wardroom also serves a critical emergency function. During general quarters, it transforms into the forward battle dressing station. Medical personnel station here with supplies ready. And that long dining table can serve as an operating table if casualties occur. Surgical lights and emergency lighting are installed overhead for exactly this purpose. Food, fitness, and recreation. Quality of life aboard these massive ships extends beyond just where you sleep and work. The Navy has made significant investments in ensuring sailors and officers maintain physical and mental health during long deployments. Food quality aboard amphibious assault ships is better than many expect. The chefs organize meals similar to base dining facilities, with rows of options where sailors and officers can request specific portions, plus self-service salad bars with additional snacks. Many ships run themed food days: Taco Tuesday, Burger Wednesday, Italian Thursday. It keeps things interesting when you're eating the same meals for weeks on end. On newer ships, the Navy has redesigned mess deck layouts to eliminate the notorious chow lines that used to jam passageways and extend into hangar bays. No more waiting 45 minutes just to eat. They've also removed deep-fat fryers as part of the push toward healthier food options. The goal is keeping sailors and officers in peak physical condition, not weighing them down with greasy food. Fitness facilities have also improved dramatically. Newer ships feature gyms totaling over 3,000 square feet, equipped with commercial-grade equipment from Hammer Strength, Life Fitness, and Matrix. These gyms are set up for weightlifting targeting specific muscle groups, cardio equipment including bikes, treadmills, and ellipticals, boxing equipment like heavy bags and speed bags, and cross-functional fitness gear including bars, boxes, kettlebells, and ropes. One amusing detail: on the USS Wasp, a sign hangs from a ceiling pipe above the treadmills reading, "Please do not drop weights, berthing below." Nothing ruins sleep faster than someone dropping a dumbbell on the deck above your rack. When weather and operational tempo allow, ships hold steel beach events, barbecue parties on the flight deck featuring grilled food, games like three-legged races and cornhole, and a chance for the crew to relax together outside. These events boost morale significantly during long deployments. Ships also maintain libraries with books. satellite television through the British Forces Broadcasting Service or similar, and increasingly, game consoles in lounge areas. Entertainment options continue expanding as the Navy recognizes that maintaining mental health requires more than just work and sleep. The connectivity revolution. Here's where things have changed dramatically in just the past year, revolutionizing what life at sea means for officers and sailors alike. Internet connectivity. For decades, staying in touch with family back home was nearly impossible while deployed. Ships had satellite phones with long waiting lines and strict time limits for calls. Email access was extremely limited and unreliable. Officers and sailors would go weeks without meaningful contact with loved ones, adding enormous stress on top of already demanding operational schedules. That's all changing. In 2024, the Navy launched a pilot program called Sailor Edge Afloat and Ashore, SEA-2 for short. This system uses SpaceX's Starlink satellites and the UK's Eutelsat OneWeb to provide high-speed internet access aboard ships. We're not talking about the old, sluggish satellite connections with high latency that barely worked. This is legitimate, fast internet comparable to what you'd have at home. The USS Abraham Lincoln and USS Carl Vinson were among the first to receive the catnip Wi-Fi system in June 2024. The Carl Vinson installation included over 60 routers throughout the ship, providing coverage in berthing areas, mess decks, libraries, wardrooms, and lounges. Sailors and officers can now use their personal devices in designated areas to text family, video chat, send photos, and stay connected in ways that were impossible just 2 years ago. One officer described it as a game changer, saying, "Even though we're far out to sea, having that improved Wi-Fi has improved morale tremendously. I can talk to my wife and message back every day. She sends me pictures of my daughter, our first kid. It's really great to stay in touch." The connectivity isn't just for personal use. It's also improving operational efficiency. Officers can now access cloud-based systems, transfer terabytes of maintenance data, and order spare parts more efficiently. The Navy is testing a program called Flank Speed Edge that enhances how crews manage maintenance and supply chains. Perhaps the most visible demonstration of this new capability, the USS Abraham Lincoln held a Super Bowl party in 2024 for off-duty crew members, streaming the game in real time with high-definition video projected on a 300-inch screen using a white hangar bay door. There was food, popcorn stands, and a massive sound system. Try doing that with old satellite connections. The Navy is clear that this isn't just about entertainment. Keeping sailors and officers mentally healthy and connected to families directly impacts retention, performance, and mission success. When someone knows their family is doing okay back home, they can focus entirely on their duties. When they're worried and can't communicate, performance suffers. This connectivity revolution represents one of the most significant quality of life improvements the Navy has implemented in decades. It's something our men and women in uniform absolutely deserve. Challenges facing the fleet. Despite these improvements, the amphibious fleet faces serious challenges that directly impact officer quality of life and operational readiness. As of December 2024, 16 out of the 32 amphibious warfare ships are in poor material condition, according to the Navy's own assessments. This includes almost all dock landing ships and the majority of WASP-class amphibious assault ships. Being rated unsatisfactory means these vessels aren't on track to meet their expected service lives due to deferred maintenance, degraded essential systems, and extensive required structural repairs. The numbers are sobering. From 2010 to 2021, the Navy extended 71% of amphibious ship maintenance periods beyond their original planned end dates. That cumulatively resulted in 28.5 years of lost training and deployment time. Officers and crews lose opportunities to train and deploy because their ships are stuck in maintenance yards longer than planned. When maintenance gets deferred, systems fail more frequently. One example, in 2022, the USS Boxer experienced rudder problems just days into a transit, forcing it back to port. The ship couldn't resume deployment for 10 months. That's 10 months of Marines and sailors unable to execute their missions, unable to train, and stuck dealing with mechanical problems that should have been prevented. These maintenance issues also impact officer careers. Getting stuck on a ship in extended maintenance means fewer opportunities for advancement, less operational experience, and more time dealing with contractors and yard workers instead of actual mission training. The Navy is working to address these problems, but it's a long-term fix requiring billions in funding and years of effort. In the meantime, the officers serving aboard these vessels continue making it work, leading their sailors and Marines with the resources available. That's the kind of dedication and adaptability that makes the United States Navy the finest maritime force on Earth. Conclusion: life for officers aboard America's massive amphibious assault ships isn't glamorous. Staterooms are cramped, schedules are demanding, and being away from family for months takes a toll. But these men and women chose to serve, knowing the sacrifices involved. They lead thousands of sailors and Marines, manage billions in equipment, and maintain readiness to respond anywhere in the world at a moment's notice. They do it in conditions most civilians would find unacceptable, yet they do it with professionalism and pride. Recent improvements in connectivity and quality of life represent the Navy's recognition that taking care of its people directly impacts mission success. Our officers deserve these improvements and more. If you found this look inside officer life on amphibious assault ships interesting, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future content. And tap the like button to support the channel. It really helps. These are the people protecting American interests around the globe. They've earned our respect and support.